What is the difference between free will and choice? Is it really free will if God already knows what's going to happen? So it's a twofer there. They're getting two questions for one.
I think the last one was two questions, too.
It was, yeah.
Okay. So there is, according to philosophy, a difference between free will and choice. Will has kind of a macro sense to it, okay? Our wills can be bent in one direction or another. They can be bent toward evil or toward good, toward righteousness or toward wickedness. The will describes kind of the sum total of actions that we take over our lives and how those actions kind of bend. Choice is a little bit more neutral. I make a choice as to what I'm going to have for cereal in the morning. When we talk about free will and choice and how those two interplay with each other, and when it comes to our sinfulness, we're really talking about kind of a macro thing rather than a micro thing. The scriptures are clear, actually, that ever since Adam and Eve, ever since the fall into sin, we do not have free will. And if you believe that you have free will, here is the challenge I will offer to anyone who will take it. Just don't sin for a week. In fact, you don't even have to live up to God's standards. Just live up to your own standards for a week, okay? Never say a cross word. Never have a thought that kind of makes you squirm. Never have a bad mood. Just do it for a week and then come back and talk to me and we'll get your book deal started right away because you will have been able to accomplish something that nobody else will be able to accomplish. And so the great thing about free will and how our wills are they bent towards sinfulness or righteousness, is that's one of those things that's empirically verifiable. You can test it on yourself. The great church father Augustine had this fancy Latin phrase, remember, you get what you don't pay for, non posse, non peccare. It meant that we are unable to stop sinning. And that's the problem that we all have, which is why the scriptures make such a big deal, not about our wills, because they're bent towards sin, but God's will. This is why Jesus will say things like, you did not choose me, but I chose you. If you are saved, if you're righteous, it's not because you got a great will. It's because God does.
Yeah, I think of that comment that Jesus makes in John chapter 14, where he's talking about the fact that the devil is coming, that he's going to suffer the torture of the cross. But remember what he says? No one takes my life from me. I lay it down. That even when it comes to the issue of that cosmic battle between Satan and God and Jesus Christ on the cross winning our salvation, that wasn't something that happened as a consequence of the devil's desire to get rid of Jesus. Jesus laid down his life for our salvation. His will, God's will, is always accomplished. Did we get to, is it really free will if God already knows? A short answer?
The short answer is God already does know what's going to happen. But remember, we don't really have free will on a macro scale. We're bent toward evil. And here's just another thought on this. Is it really that scary that God cares about us so much that he knows everything that we're going to do before we do it? It means that even if we make mistakes and we wonder how this is going to be recoverable, God already knows. And so hopefully that leads to less worry rather than to more.